What's up, guys? Ronin Man here. Hey, I had a great convention. I want to thank everybody who appeared either online streaming or came in person. It was absolutely fantastic. It just overcame any kind of doubt that the MGTOW movement is real and overcome all the expectations. There was so much expectations of failure, even in the community. Tons of people said it wouldn't work. Everybody was going to get doxxed. It was going to be a total nightmare. There was many voices that were saying, "Don't do it. It's been tried before. It doesn't work. Can't happen." And I think they were just. I mean, looking back, I think it was just kind of fear. And the fear is real because there is a lot of stuff going on, and so I appreciate the warnings. At the same time, I want to say that without a doubt, the convention was a huge success, and everybody that was there. I mean, it was like a brotherhood I can't even explain. I mean, like nobody wanted to leave. Like literally nobody wanted to leave. It was the last guy left yesterday, and we were talking on the phone, and he was like, "I want to see you before I go." Like he wanted to meet up with him, and it was just no time because he was flying out. So I want to say thank you very much to everybody who believed in the idea and who supported it and who came along and who added their ideas. The one thing I got to say now that it's the first MGTOW Global Summit is finished, conference is finished, is that I learned a lot, and I think everybody that came learned a lot. We learned, and I would say some of the surprising stuff that we learned was that there were so many different viewpoints inside, of the people, and these are pretty hardcore guys. I mean, these are guys who flew internationally, a lot of guys for the first time, to be with other MGTOWs. And I think we all didn't know. I think there was a level where we all kind of didn't know what we're getting into. We didn't know who was going to be there, what it was going to be like. And I think, like I said, it was just absolutely like, it was almost like some kind of balm on a sore or something. It was just fantastic. It reminded me when I was a kid, I used to go to these men's conferences. My dad, it was a church thing, but I really felt I got something from those men's conferences I didn't get anywhere else. I can't really explain it, and it was a very nurturing, important thing for me as a young man. It's just to know that I was a man, I was a male, and that men, had, I don't know, there was a camaraderie that I really enjoyed, and there was also the way ideas were shared at those conferences. Again, right now I'm talking about conferences when I was in high school that were men's conferences. There was a kind of a carefreeness and a humor that was really enjoyable, and that's kind of what I wanted to see if this would happen at our conference, and that's exactly what happened. So, and again, I want to say now is like there was a lot of different opinions, and I think a lot of MGTOW content creators assume that their opinion is kind of the accepted opinion. And that's normal, right? It's human nature, right? So we all think that. We all think we're normal. We all think our ideas are basically logical. And everybody's kind of like, of course, probably agrees with us, right? But when you look online, you see, when you see comments, realize that people do think very differently, and that those different voices can help us to, maybe see our blind spots and to kind of like analyze the world in a more educated, rational way. So it's not that there's one way that's right or wrong, but it's like hearing other people's, and I kind of get this when I make videos because people will say, did you think about this, or you quoted that wrong, or, did you see this case, or, something, and I'll be like, wow, like I'll really learn something. So I don't mean like debate as in the sense that somebody wins and somebody loses. I really see that these days. I see debates, especially in the SJW crowd, as something that's a power thing. And men and scientific method, traditionally has been almost like a very non-ego centered thing, where you're gathering with someone with the extent purpose of learning. So you're sharing ideas, they're sharing ideas, and you're looking at yourself and you're seeing where you're right and wrong. You're looking at their ideas, you're considering these different viewpoints, and you're learning. And when you come out of that, this is my opinion, when you come out of any discussion, like if you want to talk to me, the discussion should be where at the end of the discussion, something was made that never existed before. That's really the way I look at communication with a human being, is that the two of us together there's a great book actually called When Ideas Have Sex, I think was the name of it. Or maybe that was the subtitle. Either way, it was a great book. And it was how when you say an idea, just by you stating it to other human beings, their responses immediately cause that idea to start morphing and to start, getting better, just like more tighter, more, the idea just becomes more and more, and new things come in, and they all come in and they create this new, essentially baby, right? That didn't exist before, because it's a little bit different. Maybe you still have the basic same opinion, but you might have you might realize a few points that either reinforce your point or would cause you to think that maybe not in all cases, in this case, this, or something like that, right? It's you come out of it with a deeper understanding of the concept, that even if it was originally your concept, you come out of it with a deeper understanding. That's what I felt like at the convention. I felt like there was no, even on the most radical ideas, I really sensed, and I wasn't just sense, it was real. People were listening to each other. Guys were just listening. One guy would say, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And there was all kinds of guys at the convention. There was married guys. There was guys, long-term Asia guys. There was people from small towns all over the world. And they were telling us about their life, their situation. And I think in the beginning, the first day, people were a little bit cautious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's this fear that you're not going to fit in, right? You're not going to be MGTOW enough, you know what I mean? There's this thing that you're going to be thrown out because you're, and I really saw this when I saw MGTOW is Freedom John, when he interviewed some dude named Eli, which I don't even know who he is. I never seen his interview. No idea who this guy is, but all I know is that I saw the comments about it, and everybody was saying he's a cuck, and John is somehow worse off for interviewing this guy. I have no idea. I haven't seen the interview, and personally, I don't even care about the interview. But what I saw in that was a willingness to ignore the fact that the man, MGTOW is Freedom John, has given a lot to the movement. And then probably everybody that's listening right now has listened to a MGTOW is Freedom video, and through osmosis or whatever, got some of his ideas, and but that some people, obviously, online commenters, would turn on him so quickly is to me, it's very scary, and it shows this is a weakness in human nature. It's a weakness. It's not the inability to see that you're standing on the shoulders of giants. That everything that you are, everything that you become, is partly due to the people you met and the ideas that you accumulated, but you don't remember them, right? It's human nature also not to remember where ideas come from. Like, pretty much the best example is that nobody remembers how they learned or who taught them how to tie their shoes. It's just the weirdest thing. Everybody ties their shoes, but nobody remembers who the moment, when someone taught them how to do it. But that person that taught them took their time and taught that person how to tie their shoes, right? If you have a kid or if you have a nephew or a niece and you're sitting there teaching them stuff, you'll realize that it's not easy, teaching people things. It's not the easiest thing. People don't always want to learn, and but nevertheless, we learn, and then that becomes part of us, and that's okay. But at the same time, I think that one of the keys in life is showing gratitude for the things that you have and you've been given. And then also, I think, that's one part of it. It's showing respect, much like you would see in martial arts or something. You have a teacher, but then there's a point when you pass the teacher, right? There's a point where you become your own man, and those kind of ideas that were behind, that were, strict in the system that you learned, are no longer what you believe. You now have a bigger vision or a different, more subtle take on whatever the situation is, whether it's martial arts or fighting or any kind of issue, right? But yeah, I just saw the men that came was really very heartening to me, and I can't tell you how appreciative I have all you guys that came. So thank you very much, and thank you for being part of my life that weekend. And it's just I don't think I'll ever be the same. That was really a meaningful weekend. So today I want to talk about something else I think is quite meaningful, and I don't like to make knee-jerk videos, just everybody's making a video, I'm going to make a video. I like to think about stuff, and I really like to consider where I stand on an issue. And sometimes it's not easy because, you don't have a deep idea every day, But one thing I've been thinking about for a long time is abortion. And I've thought about making a video on abortion for, I would say, months, definitely months. And I'm just going to tell you my personal views on it. And this is very much in the spirit of the weekend. I've never been, I guess, okay, let's go back in time. So I was raised, I was born in the 60s, mid 60s, and I was raised in an era where the media basically said over and over and over and over and over and over again, the media that I read where I was living was that abortion is a woman's right, and a woman has a right to her body. It's a human right, and even that it should be funded by the state. And I guess as a kid, you just take on. I mean, you don't have time to figure everything out in life. So I kind of was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Women have the right to their bodies, and right. So whatever. And it wasn't until I was, and I remember. And I want to say this right now. I never had an abortion. I had a woman have an abortion for me on purpose. I've never said I want to have an abortion. I've never taken a woman to a clinic. I've never pressured a woman into having an abortion. And there were situations. That perhaps somebody had an abortion without telling me, and I'll talk about that later. But I just never personally have been comfortable with abortion, and I'm not religious, as a lot of people know. And so this is just coming from my own brain. Going your own way is using your own mind to think about things and to have the guts or the confidence to express those ideas. Now, of course, you could be wrong. I could be wrong. This video could be a great example of something that I really come out with, my ideas and my thoughts. And then later I change my mind. That's possible based on some evidence or whatever. But I just never was into abortion. I'll tell you why I was never into it. And partly the reason why I never talk about it with friends on the video, I've never talked about it, but I never talk about it in friends or with friends or even privately, because I feel like it's so politicized, the issue, and that you fall into a camp with a lot of these issues. So, if you're pro-life, then you would fall into a certain group of a political group, a certain action group, a certain standardized way of thinking. And then if you are against abortion, you have to side with, probably the religious right in certain groups. And so there's this kind of like, to me, it's so stupid. I cannot believe how, to me, it's like shocking. Like, how could society have devolved to this point where we can't think about issues and just decide what we believe, about something, just a simple issue. It's not what I decide and what you decide has nothing to do with anybody else, and it has to do in the sense that we learn from other people and we read and we get ideas and we, like I said, we stand on the shoulders of giants with many things in our life. But at the same time, we make a decision, and it doesn't really, it's not a set system of beliefs. If you're looking for a set system of beliefs, you should join a religion or a cult or a very strict company or something like that, where you can get a set of beliefs that you don't have to think about each one. For me, I talked on the TFN Turd Flinging Monkey Show. By the way, thank you very much, guys, for having me on. But I talked about how I take each issue myself and I think about it and I decide what that issue means to me. And then I often go back and try to find out who else thinks that, right? Instead of just saying, okay, I basically am a man, so I take the men's values. Okay, I'm an American, so I take the Americans' values. Okay, I'm an expat, so I take expat. What do expats believe? What should I believe? These are the things that we subconsciously do, humans do. And I just not into that at all. I think that's just total bullshit. That's such a crazy way to live. It's better to have no beliefs and start to build your own beliefs one brick at a time, one molecule at a time, because you're building your own system of beliefs. And now don't expect anybody to understand you, because you are never going to fit into a set of beliefs that they associate with things. People are just not smart enough to look at someone and say, oh, you believe this about this specific issue, but you believe that about that specific issue. They'll say something like, oh, if you believe this, then you believe this, then you believe this, then you believe this, right? If you believe this, that means you blah, 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 blah. And then, you're a Nazi or whatever, you're a feminist or whatever. There's this kind of like series of things when they're not listening to the specific issues they're talking about. Because in my life, okay, and on this podcast, it's a thinking podcast. So some of the ideas are even going to agree with feminists, right? Some of the ideas are going to agree with men's rights groups. They're going to agree with scientists. They're going to agree with. It's random, man. If the idea makes sense, to me, I'm going to agree with it, right? And I don't really care what group believes that idea. You know what I'm saying? I separate the group and the idea, right? It's a very dangerous thing is when you start to say, I can't believe this because this group believes that. I can't do this because this group does this. So what can I do? And then it leaves you with no options to live your own life, to go your own way, right? And one thing I found in the group this weekend was that I really felt like there was a lot of open-mindedness. There was a lot of human, I would say, love and camaraderie. And there was also a sense that there was a very disparate, large group of ideas and ways of thinking. And it was like, holy moly, like there are every type of MGTOW, every single type. There's the monk, there's the, no sex at any time, no matter what. And then there's other people who live completely differently. And, I'll interview some of these different types of MGTOWs that secretly exist. And the more we come to terms with the reality of what we are and what our friends are, the deeper we're going to get closer to the truth. So there's nothing to be afraid of. That's what I say. Is for anybody in the who believes, basically associates themselves with some MGTOW ideas, feels they're MGTOW. There's nothing wrong with thinking about things. Okay, there's nothing to be afraid of. There is absolutely nothing. In fact, there's so much to be gained because when you analyze things, even if you come to the same conclusion you would have come in a set of beliefs, it's completely different because you decided it, right? It's like the difference between prearranged marriages and getting married, right? Or if you were forced in the communist system to take a job, right? You're forced, there was certain jobs you had to do, right? There was the gulags, there was, and you did a job. Now, maybe in another lifetime in a parallel universe, you might have chosen that exact same job. And it might have been just as hard, possibly, right? But at the same time, the fact that you didn't choose it makes a big difference, right? It makes a big difference, right? So think for yourself. And here's my take on abortion. I've never been into abortion. I watch, if you want to say why I don't believe in abortion, for myself, again, I'm not an MRA at this point. I'm just basically talking for myself. It's just very, very simple. It's like if you just go on YouTube and search abortion, videos, you're going to see some videos that will, actually, I don't know the keywords I searched before, but there are videos online that will show you an abortion and, sometimes the baby's screaming as it's being basically torn to pieces. So this happens in abortion. So it's not always a silent thing. Abortion in real life. And I like to see videos because if I'm going to think about something, think about doing something, I want to see the video because I want to see what happens when this happens. Like, you can't theoretically know these things. You should watch a video. If you're thinking about doing anything, you should watch a video of what that means and make a decision if that's something you agree with, right? And it's a very powerful thing, and you're seeing that with a lot of animal rights groups will show videos of cows being mistreated or whatever, and those videos change people's minds because they say, wait a second, I'm not into that, and so but it's uncomfortable because it's easier to learn nothing in life and just to go along with everybody else. That's the easiest thing to do. Is basically kind of the milquetoast, middle of the road kind of life. I'm not into that. I'm into thinking, I'm into making tough decisions, and I'm also into being open-minded to change when I'm wrong, because that's a key part of, there's one thing is saying, oh, I'm very, I'm against abortion. I don't think abortion is good, but and then to never listen to anybody else. And you know what I mean? You're so set in your ways, you can't hear anything, and you can't hear any exceptions, or you can't hear anything else, right? That's not good. So I wanted to go into this. Just first, I wanted to, talk about my own personal experience. I had in my life women who, got pregnant and said it was from me. I talked about this in an earlier video about marriage, ways girls trick guys into marriage, and one of them was when I was 19. I talked about this situation that I think it was a setup, actually. I don't think it was pregnant for me. For a long story, you can listen to the video if you want to hear the whole story. But I was confronted with the idea of abortion when I was 19, and she was the same age, and she said, I want to have the kid. I don't want to have an abortion. And I knew at that point, we were sitting there, Marie Callender's eating pie or something, my life was going to change forever. And even at that age, I said, I was like, okay, kind of like, if life hands me, the way I look at it is, if life hands me something, I'm going to deal with it. So if life handed me a baby at 19, I would have just done my best to raise it, or whatever I would have done, I would have dealt with it. That's the way my brain kind of was naturally. If I have a problem with my leg or my knee, I find a way to get over it. I find a way to deal with it. If somebody in my family needs help, I find a way to help. It's like, it's I don't know. I think a lot of life is deciding what you want, like your goals, and you go out and do it, and kind of cutting away the things that don't help you. And there's another aspect of life where you kind of have to kind of face up to things that maybe are not that great, that you kind of like, you'd rather not face up to. But they come to you anyway, and if you don't face up to things, I think that you do pay a significant price in your mind, unless somebody's a sociopath and doesn't have that empathy. So I would give that as an exception. But most people, if something confronts you that's difficult and you don't deal with it and you ignore it, maybe you start drinking or whatever, later that comes back to haunt you. So I personally just kind of like deal with these things. I consider them kind of like a little bit like fate, something like fate, And I mean, not really, because I don't really believe in fate, but essentially because of the odds, anything can happen in life. Like a laser, a piece of the Chinese space station could come through the roof and kill me right now, right? So anything could happen in life. But so fate to me, it's not like divine fate. It's more like, the odds are always there. Something could always happen, and when it does happen, it's kind of like, okay, I'm living this life. I'm part of this world. The odds were always there for everybody. I drew this bad card, and I'm going to deal with it. That's kind of the way I look at it, So when it came to abortion, when that girl told me that she was pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh. Now this is give you guys an idea of what year this was. So let's see, that I was born in 65, so this was 1984, something like that. Yeah, 1984. And so she ended up having a miscarriage and the baby wasn't born. But I was kind of like, okay, she's going to have the baby, do whatever, kind of thing. And in my life, I had other situations where I had to wrestle with the concept of abortion. I think a lot of guys listening to this know I don't use condoms. I don't like condoms. And I do very good at pulling out, though. And by the way, you can get very good at pulling out. And guys, older men before condoms, guys who, are great grandfathers, they knew this too, that there's a way to train your Kegel muscles such that you don't get women pregnant very easily. But that's been lost. And guys don't train their Kegel muscles and don't realize this. Society tells you that any mystery could make a girl pregnant. A wind could come by and make her. The reason why they do that is because so many times a large percentage of babies are not the DNA of their father, the supposed father, right? So this is partly why society likes to have this concept of unclear. How did she get pregnant? Nobody really knows. So you just have to take care of the baby no matter what. I personally, if it's my baby, then I feel like I'm going to take care of it. But if it ain't my baby, if the DNA is not mine, I'm out of there big time, right? So that's the way, that's my personal, that's my, it's still a baby, right? But it's not my baby, right? That's a different thing, right? There's a lot of babies in the world. There's a lot of animals that need care, right? But there's a limit to how many you can care for. And so you have to say, okay, what can I do in my life? And for me, that line is very clear. It's my DNA. So if it's my DNA, then I will take care of it. Basically, that's my viewpoint on babies, right? If I got a girl pregnant. So, I remember the feminist movement back in the 70s, 80s, and the whole abortion thing was her rights, her body, and everything. And I agreed with that back then. And let's go, here's a typical paper that kind of goes to, we'll just go through real quick. Woman's right to life, forcing a woman to undergo a life-threatening, unsafe abortion threatens her right to life. Okay, so this is the arguments for abortion, and I don't think they're that strong, actually. So she has a life-threatening. I don't know what the percentage is these days on deaths during abortion, but they're not high anymore. So that it is possible. You could die from a breast enlargement. It's possible, right? But it's not probable, right? It could happen, right? Women's right to health. Self-abortion services protect women's right to health. Okay. Women's right to equality and non-discrimination. Now, this is where it gets a bit weird. Okay. So the right to gender equality is a fundamental principle of human rights law. All human rights instruments require freedom from discrimination in the enjoyment of protected human rights. So this is an argument for abortion, for women to have abortion, to have the right to abort a baby no matter what anybody says, right? So just their body, their baby, their decision, right? So basically non-discrimination and equality, gender equality. Okay, now remember that, because we're going to come back to that. If gender equality, if this was the good argument, then men would have the same exact rights, okay? Because that's what equality means. Equality means equal. It's like the equal sign, right? So on both sides, it's exactly the same, right? Or it's equal in some other, it's equal, right? That there are, maybe there's gold on one side and there's Bitcoin on the other, right? Or there's dollars on one side and there's hundreds of bales of hay that can be sold. There's equal but not necessarily the same, but they're equal. Human rights often are exactly the same. With men and women, generally they're the same. You get the right to do this, you get the right to do this. You don't have the right to do that. Same for men and women, exactly. Now, with this one, let's go into it. Let's see what happens. Okay, now here is today's report. A man spiked girlfriend's drink with abortion pills to kill unborn baby, woman claims. Now, when we talk about abortion for women, there's nothing about unborn babies in here. There's nothing. Circumstances, high quality, appropriate measures, reproductive health, in the cases of sexual assault, rape, incest, sexual reproductive health. There's nothing about babies. So when you're talking about women having the right to decide whether to have an abortion, you never hear these words. It's really strange. That's the first thing that you say, wait a second, what the hell is going on here? So basically what this guy did was he gave his girlfriend, he ground up pills. We don't have to read the whole thing because it's a simple idea. He ground up pills and he put them in his girlfriend's drinks, and she drank 800 milligrams or whatever, and 200 was enough to kill the baby. And so he aborted the baby by giving her abortion pills. Okay? But when he does it, okay, he's being arrested here in this picture, right? Now, that's strange because it's just strange. He used an abortion pill. Okay, that's what he used. He didn't use bleach or anything, right? He ground up the day after pill, right? The abortion pill. And he put it in the girl. So this is a pill that's sold on the market. Now, if he put bleach or some kind of cyanide or something in her drink, that would be an unusual thing, and that would be a right away murder and things like that. But he bought this over the counter and got a next day after pill. But when a man does it, it's killing an unborn baby. Now, when a man does it, what is it like here? Discovers she's pregnant, but killing. They keep saying the same thing: killing their unborn baby. He didn't want to have a baby, so he tried to talk me into having an abortion, which I didn't want to do. So she didn't want to have an abortion, and he did. Okay? Now, this is a very common thing when it's turned around the other way, where men don't want to have an abortion and the woman does. And that's not killing a baby for some reason. This is, people often when they're on TV, they'll have a debate about men's rights and women's rights, and they'll say, a man will say something like, someone like Warren Farrell will be on TV and he'll say, women have a lot of rights that men don't have, and then there's always, everybody laughs about it. Everybody laughs about that. Everybody immediately, it just starts, there's so many things that are said after that the debate never gets back on target, because any kind of news interview, it ends in, it's a few minutes long, right? So they never, the ones I've never seen a man really listen to when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I would ask you this. I would say, what is the most important thing in life? Okay, what is the most important thing to you? I would venture to say that the most important thing in your life is your own life. That's the thing you're most grateful for, is life itself. That maybe you like cars, and maybe you like traveling, you like sunshine, you like food. But in the end, life and health are the most important things. So we're not talking, when we talk about this topic, we're talking literally about the most important topic that could ever be talked about. So, just think about this. It's so bloody obvious to me, but okay, just think about this. If your mother aborted you, what would happen to you? So let's say that we go back in time, your mother aborted the fetus that is you. Would they be killing you? Would you still be here? Would you exist as a human being if you were aborted, right? Would your soul go into somebody else and be exactly like you and feel the same way as you out of another woman's body? Our souls lining up inside of, heaven or whatever, and then waiting to kind of come out into the earth. And if one is deleted, then that soul goes into the next person. Do you believe that? Or do you think that if you didn't exist, you wouldn't exist, right? That's pretty obvious to me. So if I was not here, and I can just say that by looking around, there's a lot of other people in the world, but I never met another Ronin man, right? Somebody who's just like me. So I'm a unique person. If I was aborted by my mother, I would not exist. My life would never have existed. And nothing that I do care about, accomplish in my life would have happened, right? So, to me, it's just so obvious that it's almost painful. I don't even know really what else there is to say. We're talking about the most important topic that exists for humans, right? Maybe, existence of the planet would be on the same level. If the planet was destroyed, humans would disappear for now because we're not on Mars yet. So I don't know. I just don't. Okay, this is just. To me, it's so bullshit. I can't. Okay, so she says, I was drinking my tea and I could tell there was a pill ground up. She had contractions and he confessed he was crying, and he said that he was a horrible person, that he had done what I thought he did. She was rushed to the hospital and she lost the baby, right? Now, they charged him with cause of abortion and premeditated killing of a fetus of another. Premeditated killing of a fetus. He was charged, a man was charged with premeditated killing of a fetus. Okay? So that's when he puts abortion pills in her drink. He's charged with murder. Okay? Killing. Premeditated. So that's the worst type. You can do homicide where you accidentally do it, or whatever, you didn't mean to. And the other one is like premeditated, where you planned it out. And premeditated murder always has a longer sentence, more extreme sentence, because it's something you had time to think about. It's more serious, right? Premeditated is like evil in the court's minds. So he is premeditated murder. Now what happens? Let's go back to when a woman decides to do the same thing. So the same pill, okay, the day after pill, she puts it in her tea and drinks it. And denying women access to abortion is a form of gender discrimination. Okay? So gender discrimination is giving one gender the right of something, and then the other gender doesn't have the right, right? So if, in this case, like if a man gives a woman the abortion pill without, puts it in her drink, because he can't put it in he can't drink it, right? There's the baby. Let's just go with the basics here. The baby's inside of the woman, right? So either, in other words, if you're trying to kill a certain target in a war and he's in another building, he's not in the building you're bombing, right? He's not going to die because he's not there, right? So you have to, when we're talking about a baby, we have to go to where the baby is, okay? So where is the baby? The baby's in the uterus of the woman who got pregnant. And the baby, what is the baby? The baby is 50% one set of genes and 50% another set of genes. So the baby is in the woman, but it's half the man and half the woman. This is another key thing, because this is the thing I often hear is my body, my choice. But it's not exactly that, because if it was only her body, she wouldn't need sperm, right? Because the sperm is not necessary. It's her body. Of course she has the right to do whatever she wants. I don't know, in some laws, some places you might not be able to commit suicide legally. I don't know. But basically you have the right to do what you want to your body, but you don't have the right to do to other bodies, right? You can't jump off a building with a baby in your hands, right? Because that's not just you. One is you, the other one is the other person, right? So the baby is made of half the man and half the woman. And just to simplify it, but basically that's what the situation is. And so it's gender discrimination if a woman cannot have, and I think I just want to back up and say this article here is very unbiased. These are the basic arguments for abortion right here. And these aren't this is not some extreme website. This is basically the arguments you hear over and over and over. So I really did it. I looked online and there was a lot of hyperbole and crazy stuff. I tried to pick something that was very a rational explanation of the standard agreement of why abortion should be legal. A woman should have the right to abortion, right? So it's a form of gender discrimination. I just don't know how a thinking person could read any farther, I mean, if a man gives a woman the abortion pill, he's charged with killing the baby, right? He's charged with premeditated killing of a fetus. A fetus. Now, when a woman does it, talking about gender discrimination, there's nothing here about fetus. There's nothing about fetuses here. Women have the right. There's basically nothing about and this is also, I found very common, this argument that women should have the right to abortion. And again, I'm not saying women should not have the right to it. I'm just saying what I think for myself, okay? So again, don't put yourself and don't put other people into groups. I'm talking about what I think is very basic thing, is that when the baby comes out, sometimes it's crying, right? Because it's a fucking human being, right? And if you kill a human being, take it out early out of the womb, it's going to be in massive physical pain, right? And suffering, right? And so it's going to scream, right? So it's not like a computer graphics. It's like a real hurt person that's being killed. A weak person, a very weak person. A baby, in society, a baby is the thing that kind of everything, in society, a baby is really the center of societal structure in almost any country. Because the baby, everybody recognizes that babies can't, they can't climb trees, they can't go get some food. They need a lot of nurturing, so they can get out of that helpless period of their lives. And some animals, I had a horse when we were young. My sister had a horse, and that horse had a baby, and I watched the baby came out of the other horse, the pony, and it started walking right away. Had these long legs, and it like stumbled up, and it started walking like right away. Like it was out of the mother like 1 minute or less, and it was already walking, right? So different things require more or less parental care. Horses, obviously, one of the least, but human beings are different. They need a lot. So we've built our whole system around protecting the weakest, right? And I think, I'm going to go into this real quick. I think that abortion is very similar to the book that I reviewed once, which is Ordinary Men. And Ordinary Men is a story of Polish guards during the World War II. They were working for Nazi Germany, and actually, I don't know, maybe they were not. They might have been German, but either way, they were in Poland, and they got the orders basically to shoot this whole village, and so they were very upset about it, and they didn't like the fact they got these orders. And even the main guy, he was like, "Why these orders for me? I don't want to do this," And he told all those people, he said, "You guys don't have to do this if you don't want to. Just, some people can load the truck, some people can go home, do what you want, but we got to get this done." And the guys pitched in, and they shot unarmed, naked women and children in the back of the head and put them into a mass grave. And they obviously suffered enormously afterwards, but this was one of the worst atrocities. And the book is called Ordinary Men because they did it in the same reason that you would do it to support your sports team. Or, like, for example, there's something difficult that's got to be done, right? You got to clean the gym, right? You got to clean the floor. And then you say, well, if I don't do it, then everybody else has to do it, right? So I'm going to pitch in and do my part, right? I'm going to do my part. And I'm not going to shift the responsibility to somebody else. That was kind of the thinking of a lot of these men. And they went through with one of the worst atrocities. And what the book really makes clear is that human beings are capable of doing the most atrocious things without even thinking about it, just because they got the order from above, or that it was standard behavior at the time. Everybody believed something, and then they all got on board. Everybody believes it, and then it's okay, right? That's the way I see abortion. I mean, to me, it's so bloody obvious that it's a baby. It's a baby inside the woman. And when you kill the baby, to me, it's totally obviously murder. Now, I also want to say, though, too, and I think this is really important, is that we are all weak human beings, okay? So I am not pointing the finger, okay? Believe it or not. I am not pointing the finger at you if you had an abortion. What I'm saying is that one, I'm saying what I think is true, okay? And also, two, is that we are all weak human beings who make massive errors. None of us is perfect. We are all flawed human beings, capable of being dragged along in any discussion or any situation. That's the whole point of the book Ordinary Men, is that these weren't evil guys. They were normal guys coming from mechanic backgrounds, bus drivers, normal people. They were not exceptional. They didn't even volunteer to join the war. They were conscripted, right? They were just absolutely a swath of normal people, and they did the worst thing. So I think that we are all capable of doing stuff, right? But I think as men, and I would even say in this case as women too, is that as humanity, we have the responsibility to continue looking at the truth, figuring out the truth, listening to our feelings, looking at things rationally, and making better and better decisions as we get older, And one of those decisions would be, the ability to say, that you don't agree with this, and maybe you agreed with it before, you did it before, but you're saying like, wait a second, like that was not cool. I was not into that. And I know that some couples, even the man will, in this case, the guy put the abortion pills in her drink, but other times the man will kick the woman in the stomach. This is historically how guys have done abortion, is by violence. And that has happened at criminals, like serious domestic violence cases. You'll see that kind of thing, right? And so I'm not saying that you are. I think it's an important point is that you, no matter what you did in the past, okay, you are not a animal. You are not a terrible person, okay. But what I would say is that when you hear new ideas that make sense and resonate with you, like the idea that a baby in a woman's stomach is a baby. I mean, this is so obvious to me. I mean, it really doesn't get much more obvious for my brain. I mean, I can see the kid inside the ultrasound. He's moving around. He's got nose. He's got eyes. He's got hands. I mean, what the hell is that if it's not a baby? You know what I mean? Like, I can't see, it's just so obvious. It's like, is that a wolf? You know what I mean? Is it a chicken? Is it a house? Is it a car? And what is it? Is it? Let's take wild guesses. Let's look at the scan and let's decide what it is. It's obviously a baby, and everybody that has a baby, they recognize that they're having a baby. That's why they celebrate. People celebrate and they buy clothes because it's not when a woman is pregnant. It's not like, oh, I wonder what's going to come out. Is it going to be like a car? Is it going to be like a Bitcoin? Oh, will I buy a garage to put the car in because it might birth the car? It's like, no. Everybody knows what comes out. Baby. So it's going to be a female or male. It's going to be a freaking baby. And they want to buy some clothes so the kid has something to wear when he gets out, right? So, it's besides, wrapping him the first couple of days. But this is, why can't a discussion happen like this? This is what I think MGTOW can bring to the world instead of, like I talked about before, like, red pill rage and more, I don't know, childish kind of reactions to things is I think what men can bring to the world is a rational, non-emotional, logical, intelligent take on issues like this. And again, I really have to say this because so many people think I'm trying to do something else with this podcast. I literally am telling you what I think. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to start a movement. I'm not saying this is true. I'm not saying it's true for you. And I'm definitely not saying that you're bad if you did have an abortion. What I'm saying is that to me, it's obvious, right? So let's get more people talking about reality in this world. Because regardless of the decisions we make, the mistakes we make, is that we're only here for a short period of time. Life is short. Life is beautiful. And no matter what you did or what you decided or maybe you were on drugs, or, maybe you did something you really regret, maybe, is that it's okay. I've made amends to people after they died. I've gone to their graves and made amends to people. One particular guy, and so, it's okay. You are a lovable human being, no matter what you did and what you thought. But I will say that I think that it is our responsibility as human beings is to constantly improve and constantly reevaluate what we believe and what we think and what our actions should be, and to go into a new phase as we grow out of one phase and we go into this new phase, right? And I think that's the beautiful thing. I really sense this with MGTOW guys. Is there's a sense of fairness and there's a sense of logic, that I really love. And what I don't like is when I see a lot of emotional responses, people going crazy, acting like basically like the exact thing that they're criticizing, right? So let's get, and this is the end of this, but let's get more logical, rational discussions, and let's see what we can bring to the world, guys, because I think we can bring some amazing things, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this particular topic, because obviously it's like such a difficult topic, right? It's this, man, geez, this is one of the most difficult topics, but hey, it's also one of the most obvious to me. So that's why I thought I would make a podcast about it. So thanks for listening, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for subscribing and all the comments. Thank you for watching the videos. We had Replicant Fish. We had so many guys. We had Darius, MGTOW Knowledge. I mean, there was just the whole list is built. I can put it in the graphic below, but it was just an amazing group of guys. Not to mention the guys that were here, and everybody was sharing with each other, and we were out like thinking and talking and planning and like, you know, going through our own stuff together. You know, it was just absolutely, it was freaking beautiful, man. So thank you very much for being part of that. Even if you just saw it online, that's a big thing too, you know. So if you didn't see it, go back and watch some of the videos. There's a ton of videos on Ronin Man channel, also on Chris Cantu, and also on MGTOW 101, because all of us were here and we were all part of the whole thing. And there was a ton of guys, and actually there was a new channel birthed, Pastor Pimp, and he is now getting ready to start to make his own channel. So look out for Pastor Pimp. I definitely going to put him on the Ronin Man channel, because he was kind of the stars born out of the whole weekend. You know, he just had this like logic. He's 64 years old. He would just tell you what he thought, and it was like, whoa, yes, you know. So a lot of good things came out of it. So thanks, guys, and I hope you guys have a good day.